What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, of course, very up close, Craig Mish. What's up, dude? How
Back up
are
a
you?
little.
No, man. I like it. I want to see like up your schnozola there.
I'm doing well. Good to be with you on a Friday. Memorial Day weekend is here. I'll get to hang out, have some fun. I don't know that my weather will be great here in Florida, but I'll be headed to the game tonight to see Juan Soto play in person, to see Max Scherzer pitch in person. So life could be pretty good.
That's got to be exciting. I can dig that. Absolutely. Seeing, getting to see. Listen, I love seeing. I just wrote my article for the New York Post, and it was all about all the prospects who are coming up. And I mean, it's really we've seen, considering when Super Two free agency is set up. I mean, we've seen now what, like 6, 7 starting pitchers in Soroka, Gohara, Fernando Romero, Freddie Peralta, Matt Cook. I know I'm missing at least one or two more who are out there, but then you've got Acuna, we've got Juan Soto, and I mean I think that there are going to be a number of guys coming up with inside the next 2 weeks. Oh, Willie Adames, we just saw Willie Adames, do like a little week-long audition while they're making changes and stuff like that for paternity leave.
Two guys on the Pirates, Meadows and Kingham.
Meadows and Kingham, absolutely. See, I can't keep track of them. I mean, this has
Me
been.
either.
Does it seem like this has been one of those years, Craig, where the youth movement is just bigger, better, faster, stronger?
No.
No. Is it like this every year, Craig?
Yeah. Yep.
What was it?
You know what it is? Is people are in denial about it being every year, but it is every single year. It was last year. You had Aaron Judge and Bellinger. Every year, guys are coming up. They're getting drafted. They're more prepared. They're better developed, and we're seeing them in the big leagues faster. To your point, and Tyler Mahle on the Reds, in terms of pitching, that has been different this year. We've seen more young pitchers and be somewhat viable in fantasy. But in terms of the overall pool, it's a big misnomer that rookies aren't coming up and developing and hitting anymore. I always use examples of go take a look, not in the last 10 years, but prior to that, what the rookies of the year stats looked like. These were guys that batted 270 with 15 home runs and 60 runs driven in. I mean, it's just true. Now they're monsters at the end of the year. So, the trend changed with Pujols and Ryan Braun. I think those were like the two guys that came up. And then Carlos Correa was a rookie of the year too. And then for pitching, Jose Fernandez. So it's changed completely now. And now guys come up, they're ready, they hit. And if you don't run to the wire and pick these guys up, you're going to regret it.
Well, I think the dynamic in fantasy really. I mean, we've seen rookies constantly throughout the years in regular baseball, but the focus that we've put on them now here in fantasy, I think it really did start with Pujols. Now, maybe it obviously coincided with how the internet really blew up fantasy sports, but let's face it. When Pujols came from out of nowhere, basically, and he made the team after they said that he wasn't going to make the team, and then the dude comes out and he puts up a rookie campaign, every single fantasy baseball owner immediately wanted to be that person who discovered the next big thing. There were fights for Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. I mean, even you can go back. It's funny, like even before Trout and Harper, you remember when Jason Hayward was the guy who was getting all
huge.
of that crazy buzz. So since Pujols, I mean, it's been a lot more mainstream. And then I look at it now, and you look at a prospect list, and preseason prospect list of 25 people long. Guess what? You're going to see at least 60 to 70% of those guys. You could conceivably see them within the first 2 months of the season here. Super 2 be damned.
Yeah, but again, the numbers is what I'm being specific to. The numbers weren't there in the past with these
production.
Rookies.
You're talking about production.
They were not. And now, you mentioned Pujols, like both Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger were Pujols last year in fantasy, So, for people who say, oh, it can't happen again, you hit it. Guys are coming up sooner than we thought. Juan Soto came up before we thought. Maybe overall this year there isn't a guy that's going to hit 40 and drive at 120, but who can even say that right now? We're still early on. I don't know. Does Villanueva, does he qualify as a rookie? I mean, he's kind of come out of nowhere, and Yeah, I mean, he's come out of nowhere and is on pace for 35 home runs and 100 runs driven in, and someone that was undrafted in fantasy leagues. You can't discount them anymore, and it's not because they're rookies. It's because when kids get drafted, they've already been developed in high school and even younger, and they're all on the path to the big leagues as soon as they come up. There's no sitting in the minors 5, 6 years anymore, and that's what's changed significantly. And also, players are coming up that aren't hitting home runs in the minors and are doing it in the majors.
Oh,
That's the crazy part about it.
I mean, that's really been the huge thing when you see Gleyber Torres popping off the way he is. We saw that with Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor was always lauded for his glove, and it was glove, 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 and boom, he comes up to the majors, and it's huge like that. It really is. And listen, I love it. We spend all that time over the past 5 years trying to debunk the myth of age 27. All you had to do is basically wait until every kid was 19 and 20 being called up, because they're not hitting that peak time at age 27. They're coming up at 19, 20, 21, and they're peaking at 20. They're hitting that stride at 25, 26 instead. Now, maybe they don't really hit their physical maturity. Maybe that's, people want to say 27 years old, but I mean, as far as for baseball production purposes, it's coming younger and younger, and I got no problem with that. I really don't. I mean, I dig it. It keeps it exciting. It keeps it fun, and I'm happy with it. So bring it on.
I mean, Ozzy Albies is not a rookie, but he kind of is.
Right?
I mean, technically, he did play in September last year, and a little bit, I think, of August, so he didn't get it. Benintendi's had a little bit of a down year. He was a rookie last year too. So when people say to you as an analyst or an expert, if you call yourself one in fantasy, oh, he's a rookie, you can't trust it. The people who are winning their fantasy leagues are the people who are taking these chances. Are they some of the same people that may finish 10th out of 13th because their rookies were all busts? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? At the end of the day, if this is not an NFBC league where thousands of dollars are on the line, you're probably better off taking more chances than not, because those could lead to winning those leagues. Now, NFBC is obviously different. You want more predictability. There's high stakes. There's a lot of money on the line. You can't just throw all these darts at the wall. And also, by the way, in the NFBC leagues, you can't even add a rookie until he comes up to the big leagues, and then you have to make your decision. But my approach hasn't changed. Last year was a failure, and I probably went a little bit too deep into the rookie pool. But I think it was only because I picked the wrong guys. If I had picked Judge or if I had picked Bellinger, I would have been in a different spot. This year, some of the younger guys that I've gotten have hit. It's a mix of guys. It's just I'm tired of hearing that because the guy's never done it before, he can't do it, because guys are proving this wrong every year now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that phrase has gone out of style in like the last 2 or 3 seasons. And yeah, listen, I'm with you. I'm with you. Once you hear that, once I hear somebody say that, I kind of discount what they're saying. I really do.
It's two now. Yeah.
Something, yeah, you have to embrace it. It's just the way that the game has changed, the way things are changing. Guys, we're broadcasting live here over on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. You can catch us on the homepage of the Fantasy Alarm website. Feel free to comment, ask any and all questions here. Craig and I wanted to, we usually have a theme going as far as our live streams go, and we like to hit certain topics. There's a lot to cover right now. We're calling it current events here today because there is a lot happening. And I think probably the biggest one that we've got to take a look at right now, Craig, is the word that the Red Sox, in activating Dustin Pedroia from the DFA Hanley Ramirez. Now, we knew the Red Sox were going to have some issues with Hanley Ramirez, and I've got a bet with our producer John Impemba because of this 497 plate appearances. If Hanley takes 497 plate appearances for the Sox this year, then it triggers a
$22 million. Yeah,
a vested $22 million option for next year. Now, Hanley's all into it, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. The Red Sox do not want to pay him $22 million for next year. So it was just a matter of time there. But let's face it, Hanley started off the season like a house of fire. Granted, he's in an 0 for 20 slump right now, and he doesn't look good. But we talk about this game being ebb and flow all the time here, Craig. So when there are cold streaks like this, you kind of have to sit and wonder, is it going to stay like that for a guy like Hanley? Is he going to be back on the upswing? And if he's DFA'd now from the Red Sox, what teams are looking for that kind of a bat, first base, DH kind of a situation here. Hanley still has a little something left in the tank, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's topical because it's more of a baseball story, and he's been a popular name and kind of a galvanizing figure through the years because of who he is. He came up as arguably one of the best fantasy players on the planet. He was the #1 overall pick in fantasy one year. He was a guy who could hit home runs and steal bases. He left the Marlins, went to the Dodgers, was arguably their best player for 3 months. Puig, everyone remembers from that year, it was really Hanley Ramirez. Then he goes to Boston. I got a lot of experience with this guy, so I can speak to his Marlins days, and I can't really speak to his days with Boston or LA. But Howard, I kind of break it down like this: it's a cool story to talk about, and it gives us something to talk about. But in the end, who wanted Logan Morrison? Who wanted Yonder Alonso? Who wanted Mark Reynolds? And Hanley Ramirez is in that category right now, and all those guys have teams and he doesn't.
Yeah.
So in fantasy, it's going to take a perfect fit for him to have any kind of fantasy value for me going forward the rest of the season. And honestly, for fantasy, it's got to be an American League team if there is some fantasy relevance. Now, for me personally, and you too, when you're playing in those single leagues, the AL only and the NL only, a guy comes over and gets 200 plate appearances between now and the rest of the season and 10 home runs. That's really big. So for the single leagues, wherever he ends up, I'll take a look at it. I think it's important. But for a 12 or 15 team league, I don't think where he ends up matters, and it won't make a difference to me. The only thing that I'm curious to hear when it all comes out is, was it just strictly production, or was he being Hanley Ramirez like he was here in Miami, which was not pretty. Nobody will have a good thing to say about him here, especially the last few years of him being here. And, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say it was just production. When the cameras are on that field, he's signing stuff, he's giving away, he's smiling, he's singing. But man, you don't see everything that goes on behind the scenes. I will give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll be a positive as opposed to a negative here, and just simply say that was the case, and everything was fine. But what I texted to Jim Bowden about 30 minutes ago, and this is how I feel about it. Alex Cora of the Boston Red Sox, who was with the Houston Astros, who I've come to know over the last few years as a coach there, is probably the biggest player-friendly manager in the game. I mean, to me. And if you can't make it with Alex Cora as your manager there's something up, man. Alex Cora is a gem of a person. He is one of the nicest people, players, managers out there. And this had to come from somewhere. The manager, upper management, I don't know. So I'm curious. Now, fantasy-wise, Howard, how do you see it here? Do you see a team out there that's a possibility for him? I think I've narrowed it down to 3 possibilities here, but maybe we'll be surprised with something else.
Well, I mean, I think it's it's obviously going to be also a monetary situation here, as I don't know what Hanley's exactly owed for right now, nor do I know when a team picks him up. I mean, now that
he'll clear waivers. No one's going to
clear waivers. Boom. We're good.
Gone.
So then it's just a matter of signing with a new team.
A prorated $500,000 contract for the rest of the year, the league minimum. Yep.
Okay. Well, let's scout through the American League teams and see who needs a first baseman, B, a designated hitter. So far, I'm like scrolling through right now as we're talking. Maybe the Kansas City Royals could use somebody there. Maybe
you know what? Maybe I discounted some of the bad teams here. Because what a bad team, Howard, could do is they could call him and say, hey, look, this is your last shot, and this is your shot to get traded in 2 months to a team. If you produce, you want to come audition with us for 2 months and go, then you'd be right. Kansas City is on the radar for that. The teams that I saw as with a need at least, and 2 teams that could flip them would be Baltimore and Tampa. Those were the 2 teams that I saw. The Rays have C.J. Cron, but, they could potentially use him as a right-handed bat. The Rays love these guys that just hit home runs and do nothing else, so maybe he'd fit there. And
they kind of changing the culture there a little bit, I thought.
With the Rays?
That's what they, at least that's what they were talking about, and that's what they were looking to head towards. Like for the last 5 years, yeah, they've been all about the home run, and they've realized that it hasn't worked. But I mean, yes, are they still sitting with a guy like Brad Miller on their roster? Yeah, they are. I just don't know if they want to pick that back up again.
Maybe not. And then Baltimore, Chris Davis has been the worst player in all of fantasy, maybe. So
right, but you could put Trey Mancini right there at first base.
you could. Look, you could strike me down on all these. Here's my opinion. I don't have a good opinion here. I really don't.
There's
I just
nothing
don't.
good. There's nothing good.
I mean, Jim texted me that he thinks that the Rockies are a good fit, and that kind of is true. But then you're punting on Desmond, you're punting on McMahon in the future.
Yeah.
You're crowding more of the outfield there. Again, this is like a non-fantasy value story, I think, honestly.
I don't know. What if he goes to Toronto? What if Kendricks don't go boom and they try Hanley instead? Hanley is a DH in Toronto? Oh, you just hate it. You're just an anti-Hanley guy.
I am absolutely an anti-Hanley guy.
Okay, all right. See, there you go, man. That's all you need to say. You're an
no.
guy.
Admittedly, but in the best case scenario, give me his stats on any team in baseball. Best case for you right now. You're in an AL only, NL only. Over under. Okay.
I'm just gonna take the under no matter what you say. No matter what you say, I would home runs the rest of the season 2. I'll take the under, Craig.
Well, then we're done here. In this conversation.
I'm not going to play that game, man. I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to get suckered into another Christian Yelich 20 steal bet.
If on wageralarm.com right now, you can log on and bet the over-under on Hanley Ramirez's home runs the rest of the season. Craig Mish has set the total at 11.5 home runs the rest of the season.
I'm taking the under.
He's taking the under.
I'm taking the under.
And that's it. And I'll stop there with all the other numbers because it's impossible to dictate that. But that's that. I would say
RBI 26.
I mean, it's a sad story with this guy, man. I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. Like he was awesome as a Marlin. I think 40 home runs, 40 steals, like 50 steals.
I told you my story, right?
Yes,
like 2000. Yeah, I mean that was like the greatest middle infield $2 I ever spent in my life. I've been doing fantasy for I don't know how long. In my life, I've never made a better pickup than Hanley and Ugla for $1. And what was that? 2006, 2000.
And listen, the Marlins had both those guys. They had Hanley and Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera kept his head on straight, went on to Detroit, won a Triple Crown. He's a Hall of Famer. He's coming to the end of his career. It's obvious, but he went on to have a Hall of Fame career. Hanley Ramirez went to LA, and I was like, wow, all the things that we didn't see the last few years here in Miami, now he's doing it again. And it was the opposite again after that. In Boston, it's like he has this honeymoon period where he does well initially, and then I don't have a good location for him, Howard, and I don't have good stats for him at the end of the season. But he's an important figure in baseball. He's popular. We like talking about him, so. That was the last 4 minutes of my life that we will never get back.
There you go. Some great comments coming in here for the Fantasy Alarm live stream on Facebook. Keith Giordano says Hanley is good, but he is no superstar like Lewis Brinson. He's just poking fun at you, Craig. Just poking a little fun at you. That's what we do.
I'm not going to let you know when who the outfielder of the Marlins will be in June. Just for that one, Giordano.
Going to be Dean, right? That guy Dean you keep talking about.
Yeah,
right. I'll drop Braxton Lee for him. Thanks, Craig.
Who said that?
What else do I got here? Oh, Keith Giordano calls you an anti-Ramrite.
What's that mean?
Instead of an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Ramrite. Come on.
Yeah,
Anti-Dentite, Seinfeld. Really? You're missing out on all this? Fine. Let's just move on here. Let's hit some of the other questions.
And I'm getting crushed here on Twitter because I said that a Marlins employee once told me Hanley Ramirez was the single most difficult player to work with in the history of the franchise. Fact. I mean, what do you want? Is that something this is who he was. Maybe he's changed since then, but
I don't know. Why don't you fix your mic, man? You're coming in and out now on me.
Sorry. Okay. Is that better?
There you go. See? All that negativity about Hanley was affecting your sound, your volume. All right. So big timer over on what am I on? Oh, I'm on YouTube right now. Oh, he and I had a really good conversation about Garrett Richards, actually. He thought I was bashing Garrett Richards, and I was saying no, I was changing my opinion on Garrett Richards because at first I thought Garrett Richards was total garbage, but then he started pitching really well, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe. Maybe he just needed some time to knock the rust off and get himself right. And then, like, literally, as we have this conversation, Garrett Richards gives up like 5 earned runs in like 2 innings. Um, and I was like, oh, there we go. We're right back to hot trash for Garrett Richards. To which then he defended Garrett Richards, and Garrett Richards' wife liked his post on Twitter.
That's nice. Yeah, I see that sometimes. I get that occasionally.
I enjoy that too. Listen, I like when a wife sticks up for the husband like that.
I guess I got to worry about Hanley Ramirez coming after me now.
Hanley's wife's coming after you. You're done.
I can't wait for that.
You're done. All right, let's see. What else do we got here? Ay, ay, ay. Yes, I do. Oh yeah, I guess we're gonna take a quick break here while we fix a technical issue, people. Please stand by. We'll be right back. All right, looks like we are back. We are good to go, ready and waiting. Thank you for your patience there. Wouldn't want you just staring at a blank screen listening here. That's not what it's all about. You got to see. You got to see the visual here. I'm Howard Bender. With me here, Craig Mish. It is the Fantasy Alarm live stream. I'm hoping at some point I can. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Now I see it. Now I see it back on all the pages here. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right, Craig, you ready, brother?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get back into business here. We were talking about Garrett Richards' wives sticking up for their husbands. Kate Upton, when she did that for Verlander, great story there. So anyway, that's my history with Big Timer over here on YouTube page. But he does have a question here. Zach Godley, Mike Fultonavich, or Tyson Ross, rest of the season outlook, who do you prefer?
Boy, Zach Godley has really come back down to earth, and his whip has been on the rise. Tyson Ross has pitched very well, but he hasn't really been able to prove over the years of staying healthy. Maybe Fulton-Awich is the guy here. He's throwing a lot harder. He's certainly done things this year that we had never seen before, and he plays on a team that's potentially going to score the most runs in baseball. So if I had to grade him 1, 2, 3, probably would be Fulton-Awich 1. I'll cross my fingers on Godley for 2, and then Tyson Ross would be 3. But I'm not sure on Godley either. This has been a struggle for him in May.
All right, here you go. 5x5 10-team roto. Kevin Pillar or Tyler O'Neill?
I think I got asked that question the other day. It's a good one. That's a tough one. Probably Pillar is guaranteed playing time right now. Mm-hmm. But Tyler O'Neill has the most upside. It just depends on what you need. Pillar is not going to hit as many home runs, I would guess, the rest of the season over Tyler O'Neill. But the other thing you have to wonder with Pillar is, would the Jays move him? Are they going to be in that kind of mode to trade some players in July? And I don't know that Pillar would start on a postseason team. I think he may be the fourth outfielder on some teams too. So that's something to monitor.
Right, but you also have to monitor the Tyler O'Neill situation. I mean, the Cardinals have what? They've invested how much? 80, 90 million dollars in Dexter Fowler.
They have.
So it's not like they're not gonna bench Tommy Pham. We've covered that already. They're not gonna bench Marcelo Zuna. We've covered that already, which leaves Dexter Fowler there and Tyler O'Neill. So I think you joked about it the last time you put Tyler O'Neill over at third base. I think we were talking about.
Right.
And I said throw him behind the plate. Just find a home for him here. So I mean, that's kind of a tough call there. Pilar versus O'Neill. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that if you want speed, then you go Pilar. If you're looking for power, you take that shot with Tyler O'Neill because he at least has that potential.
Yeah, I don't think O'Neill will play tonight. I mean, they'll probably go back to their standard outfield, but he definitely stands to get more playing time if especially Fowler struggles. And by the way, Tommy Pham is in a slump too. I don't know if you noticed that. Pretty big slump for him.
Listen, considering I've kind of been on the anti-Tommy Pham campaign for years, and I've just tried to remain silent through it, I'm not going to sit there and chime in and be like, oh, see, he's slumping.
Yeah, let me pull that up here. There was on the radio broadcast for the Cardinals, and I usually have some pretty good insight with the Cardinals, but on the radio broadcast, they were intimating that maybe something was up with his vision again. I hate to hear that. And listen, he's proved me wrong. He's proved me wrong for sure. But his last 7 games, 7 for 30 with 14 strikeouts and 30 at bats. His last 3 games, he's 0 for 13 with 9 strikeouts. So, just something to keep an eye on. I'm not rooting against him, but got to keep an eye on it.
I'm not rooting against him either, but yeah, definitely. Listen, Tommy Pham has always been injuries have always been his problem. The eye situation, yeah, that's taken the forefront there, but it doesn't mean that we haven't dealt with Tommy Pham knee issues and hamstring issues over the years here as well. So again, not some young spry new kid. Definitely something to watch, especially as a Tyler O'Neill owner. You have to keep an eye on that and see what's going to happen here. You know that Matheny likes to kind of maneuver parts around as much as possible. So that's definitely going to work. What else do we got here? Cleveland, Minnesota, maybe Colorado or the Mets. LA Red Sox 25 wants to talk more about Hanley. Yeah, we covered it. It is what it is. Maybe there's an AL only team, an AL team who would want him, but we're not seeing a whole lot of promise.
Yeah, it's only for those of you who play in AL onlys or NL onlys. If you're in a 12-team league, you probably don't even play him anyway. So why would you play him going somewhere else? Doesn't make sense.
Does not make sense. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, Stephen Feely wants to know: can the Pirates be smart enough to get Meadows steady at bats even when Starling Marte comes back?
Okay, well that's a good subject, and we don't know the answer to that. But I will say this: Starling Marte had an 80-game suspension last year for steroids, as we know. But since he's come back, he's been fantastic. It's just the injury that derailed him. Gregory Polanco single-handedly derailed my season last year. And you're not supposed to have recency bias, but I was not going to go down that road again. I was getting sold down the road of going down that road again, and I did not. So you have to wonder to yourself, because Corey Dickerson has played fantastic. He's been awesome. He's going nowhere for them. Would they ship out Polanco or potentially Marte to play Meadows? And Howard, the longer this goes, you have to start thinking that there is a chance that they may want to insert Meadows and play him every day. The only question is, will this come before the deadline? Or will they just do something after the year just to open it up for Meadows? But what would be the reality trade value for Gregory Polanco based on the last couple of years? It'd be pretty low. Marte is a tough trade because of the suspension that he had. And Dickerson, they acquired him for nothing. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to shake out. I have Meadows in one league. I'm playing him for Chris Davis of Oakland, and I'm hoping he stays. But I just can't see it after. I think he'll get a full week next week of playing time, and then I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a share of Meadows as well. I mean, listen, Polanco's batting .218 right now. Yeah, he's got the 8 home runs, 22 ribbies, 29 runs scored, and 3 stolen bases. But, I mean, are you going anywhere? That's the thing. And I think that's the thing that Pittsburgh needed to see also. And I was listening to, I can't remember, maybe it was that Reds Pirates broadcast where they were talking about how the fan base really lashed out at the Pirates for trading away Garrett Cole and getting rid of Andrew McCutchen as
Right.
well. But they do make, the announcer made a very, very valid point, and that is you've been trying to win with the same guys over and over and over again, and you've been unsuccessful doing it. At
That's
what
right.
point do you say, it doesn't matter if I keep adding components to it, these guys are not getting the job done the way they're supposed to? Now, we've seen McCutchen show some decline in age, and so moving on from him was the right move, I thought. Garrett Cole was just kind of middling for them. Really, if Garrett Cole landed with another team, do we really, other than Houston, and what we've studied and what we've seen with the way Houston is handling its pitchers now and the work that they do, would Garrett Cole still be Garrett Cole right now if he was pitching on a different team, if he went to the Blue Jays, if he went to any other organization? And the question is I don't know, or the answer at least is I don't know what he
I
would
don't know
be
either.
like. It just so happens that it is gelling beautifully in Houston. But so now you're sitting here, Marte, Polanco, they haven't been doing it. And so if you do have an option like Austin Meadows, and you got to give this kid the opportunity and give him the chance to show what he can do, I don't see why not. I mean, I could see them trading Dickerson to a contender who could, use somebody surging like that. I mean, we're talking about teams that could pick up Hanley. Dickerson at least can help, play the outfield. So I think he would have a little bit more value. That's if they didn't want to move on from Polanco and Marte. I think at least one of those guys should be in trouble come the trade deadline. And I think it's probably going to be Polanco a little bit more than Marte, I think.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at Marte, he's had a really good year outside of getting hurt. So he's come back in a big way for them, and he's also a better defender than Polanco also. So I think that you're right. The question will be, will somebody think highly of Polanco regardless of what the numbers are and take that chance? And I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, at the end of the year, Polanco probably have 20 to 25 home runs and maybe 10 or 15 steals and 240. That's like nowhere what you thought that you were going to get this year from him. But it was the same thing last year, and it was supposedly an injury, but nothing much has changed.
Nothing much has changed. And yes, Stephen Feely, you're right. Pretty much all of Polanco's home runs did come like in the beginning of the season there. He has hit
First week.
Since April 27th, he has hit 2 home runs.
That's a month. Wow.
And batting 218. He's brought the average up a little bit. He was hitting 192 to open up the month of May, so he's up to he's wide up to 218 right now. That's definitely that's trouble. That's not something you want. And so so Steve Feely wants you to know that dumpster meet fire. Here's Gregory Polanco. There you go. Let's see what else we got going on here. Cade Peterson, what's up, brother? Why is Austin Meadows getting so much shade? I don't really think he's getting shade. I don't know. Do you think that he's getting shade? I think everybody wants to see Austin Meadows do something. I think everybody wants to see him succeed. I think we've been waiting for at least one season too long to see what this guy's going to be able to do.
Yeah, and he's putting up numbers that don't really comp out with his minors numbers. So I think he's done a good job. But, again, you don't know how the Pirates are going to handle that situation. They're also in contention right now. So why would they start even thinking about dumping players at the moment? I think it'll be something that we'll have to watch. But as of right now, he'd be the odd man out with all 3 outfielders healthy. You probably have one more week of him, and then I don't know. I don't know what they'll do.
All right. Let's move on from the Pirates. Let's talk closers for a minute here. There has been a lot of upstarts from the closers. We do a segment on the Fantasy Alarm Show called Closer Pac-Man, where we basically go from team to team to see which ones we want to play, which ones we don't want to play. One of the ones that I was getting ready to play yesterday was the Cincinnati Reds situation. Raisel Iglesias is on the DL for a bicep strain in his non-throwing arm. They're still, they're worried enough about it. Jim, with the Jim Bowden with the mighty text machine there that he gets to chime in and ask a guy like Dick Williams what's going on in the situation there. Looks like Jared Hughes is the closer to own in Cincinnati. Are you buying this with Hughes? I mean, Michael Lorenzen just came off the DL. He's done that work for the Reds in the past. We've seen Hughes when he was with Minnesota, and he's got his ups and downs. Do we believe that Hughes is a guy that you want to throw some fab money at and pick up right now, or as soon as we throw some fab money at him, he's going to go right back to
Right. Well, you don't want to throw Tyler Clipper type fab money at him. That's for sure. I saw some crazy bids for him.
What about Jacob Barnes type fab money?
That's another good one too. I blew that one.
So did I in multiple leagues.
I would say NL only for Hughes right now, and maybe 15-team leagues deep. You know, it seems like it's the bicep of the non-throwing arm for Iglesias. So if he's only out another week or two, then I really don't think that there's going to be a lot of save opportunities there. You'd be waiting until the end of July. And I would think that if Hughes pitches very well, they'll trade him too. So he wouldn't be the closer even in July for them, because somebody would look at him. I think he's probably on a one-year deal at most. And some other team would take Iglesias and take Hughes. So over-under on wageralarm.com, save the rest of the season for Jared Hughes.
For Jared Hughes?
I'm setting the total at 5.5.
I'm taking the under.
You're an under in my heart.
Why would you take the over? Why would you even? I don't even think he could get 5 saves with the Reds right now.
Right, it's gonna be tough.
Like even if Raisel Iglesias is out for, let's just say, I'll put a month on it. I don't necessarily know if Hughes could get 5 saves for the Reds in that time span. I just don't know.
Maybe not.
It ain't pretty. All right. So the Tyler Clippard situation in Toronto, that's a nauseating one. I begged Jim to let me in on his next call with John Gibbons so that I could hear him pester him a little bit more. He did it this morning. Yeah, I didn't get a chance. I don't know what happened
though. I didn't. I'm sure John Gibbons don't even want to talk about it right now. It's so bad. I think that Clippard has to still be owned because you invested all this money, fake money in him for a week or two. I think Sung Hwano would probably be the one that I would attack this week, but Tepera is also there. The Blue Jays are not as bad as the Reds. I think Roberto Osuna doesn't pitch another game this year, so you can certainly play that a little bit more. I would attack that.
All right, listen, I believe it. What were the other situations? Oh, man. Oh, I had them all written out for me, Craig, and now I can't seem to find it. So bear with me 1 second. What about you? Give me a closer situation that you're monitoring right now because you think it actually might work for you.
Yeah, the Angels are a good team, so we're still unclear as to who their closer will be.
Blake Parker, dude. It's Blake Parker. We all know it's Blake Parker. It's always going to be Blake Parker. There's nobody else in that bullpen,
it's Blake
right?
Parker. So it's Blake Parker.
I don't even know.
Maybe the Phillies. I still think give Neris the opportunity there, but they have Sir Anthony Dominguez, who's pitched very well. Maybe he gets some save opportunities at some point. But it's at least this month what we've seen is some turnover, which we normally see in the past. I mean, there's a wide open opportunity right now for 2 teams, for Toronto and for Cincinnati. Now the question is, for how long are those opportunities? Are they for a week, 2 weeks, a month? But that's the kind of game that you got to play when you don't draft closers in fantasy, which I endorse, because the draft picks, you should never give up high draft picks or draft picks at all. This fake money that they give you is the time to start spending, because if it doesn't work, it didn't work. I mean, imagine there were closers. Think about this, Howard, for a minute. How many closers in fantasy were taken before Ozzie Albies? Think about that, because that's a punch in the face. I mean, think about that. I mean, you took Craig Kimbrell before you took Ozzie Albies? Are you nuts? But people did. People did in fantasy. How? Why would? I mean, that should be a lesson for everybody. Take that chance on the offensive player.
Well, all I'm thinking about is, listen, you know what? When we walked into the preseason, yes, I was all in on Ozzie Albies, as were you,
but there are other guys too.
But if I'm doing like a ranking, if I'm doing like a top 250, all right, you telling me that you would have had Ozzie Albies ahead of Kenley Jansen?
I drafted him that way, but that was me.
Well, no, you didn't draft Kenley Jansen. You took Ozzy Albies, but somebody else took Kenley. You passed on Kenley Jansen, but he went where? Fourth, fifth round?
I don't know that he's a good example because I never would take him. And also, you're probably right. I don't know that I took Albies. No, I didn't take him at all in the fourth round. But I took him in the fifth, I think, and sixth all day long.
Albies in the fifth or sixth round? Jeez, I
Yeah.
was getting them. I was getting them later than that. It was fantastic. I was getting them like the eighth, ninth, 10th round.
Me. Albies. Somebody at Tout Wars. I mean, think about this. Somebody ripping me now. I want to send it to him. I put out my two best bids: Max Scherzer for 39, Ozzy Albies for 21. Somebody tweets out, "Whoa, Ozzy Albies! Talk about inflation on that guy." Can you imagine somebody said that?
Oh man, God, to think about that, because Scherzer and Albies, two guys who are sitting on my NL Labor team right now.
If you own those two players in a fantasy league and you're not winning, send me a screenshot of that team. I have to see what went wrong otherwise.
Yeah, that's
impossible.
It is almost impossible. Absolutely.
You have to be in the top 3 of a league if you have those two guys. You can't. Like, what did you do? You forgot to set a lineup one week or something?
Oh, God. I love it. Yes, Stephen Feely, Tyler Clippard, he did. He went bad, and we expected it. Did we expect it?
He walked 2-3 hits, grand slam, or something like that?
Everybody gives up a grand slam nowadays. All right, Big Timer wants to know one more thing here. He's got Jonathan Scope, Carlos Hernandez, Gleyber Torres. Rank those babies. Rest of the season here. Because Torres really, I mean, the dude's hitting for power that I wasn't expecting. Yep. Hernandez, to me, is always Hernandez has to be one of the more underrated guys. Like, I know that he doesn't have huge power, and I know he doesn't have blinding speed, but the dude gets on base at a significant rate. He does steal bases. He does hit for a little bit of power. I love Hernandez. I've got him on a bunch of different teams. And then Jonathan Scope, the oblique injury really derailed him for what he could have had to start this season. Since he's been back, he's been good. He's been knocking off a little bit of rust. I love Scope for the power potential for him there. So 3 really good, solid options here for the middle infield. Where are you liking them?
Yeah, I think I probably put Torres 1, Scope 2, and Hernandez 3, but it would depend on what you're searching for. Is it power? Is it speed? Is it runs, batting average? I think it's a tough question to answer. If it's a points league, I don't know that it matters as much, but Scope would probably strike out more than Torres a little bit there. If it's a straight roto league and you only need home runs, I think Scope would probably hit the most the rest of the season. And then if you said, well, I need runs and steals the most, then I probably would go Hernandez. So I can't really answer that question without the context of what you need, because that's where we are now at Memorial Day. Like, you got to look at your team. It's not about like which player is better the rest of the season. It's which category do I need to make up ground or make moves in.
And that's a great point, because that's one of the things that I've been talking to a number of people about. I wrote my love letter this week to those people who sit there and email me 4 or 5 times a week with their questions. And I'm like, listen, I can't run your team for you. All right. I got 12 of my own, and that's difficult as it is. So for that to happen, you need to, I don't study the nuances of everybody's leagues. I don't study, I don't study the rules that people might be able to do. So to sit there and to, screenshot me your team and screenshot me another 2 teams in your league and be like, can you come up with a trade proposal for me? I don't know where you are in the standings, and I don't know what you need. And that's the important aspect that you got to make. It's not just about which player you like for the rest of the season. It's which category is more important to you, and what can that player do for you in that category. That's really what it comes down to, because, we don't live in a vacuum. And listen, even if people are like, well, it's just for my utility spot. Okay, it's just for your utility spot. What categories are you, if it's a head-to-head league, what category are you losing week in, week out? Because that's what you need to change. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, in that movie, The Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when that big vacuum comes up and sucks up Augustus Gloop, my son's been watching that over and over and over again. Would that be like living in a vacuum at that point? Because that's the only place that I've ever seen somebody actually live in a vacuum. But you're right, in a vacuum is a good term. But I was watching that the other day. I always found that fascinating.
I don't really know how fascinating I found it, more in the sense of I was still envious because I wouldn't mind living in that vacuum if it meant swimming through a river of chocolate first.
It was a Peeps factory. Can you imagine living in a Peeps factory, Howard, for a week, a day, 10 days?
Well, I mean, it's like, after a while, you get to a certain point. Like, that's why I only limit Peeps to 1 day a year, Craig. Because if I enjoyed Peeps every single day, A, they wouldn't be as special. B, I'd get sick of them. It's like getting a job as a barista and then having to wake up the next morning and your wife is like, "Hey, can you make me a cup of coffee?" Like, you don't want that.
No, you don't. And speaking of movies, I saw Han Solo last
How
night.
how do we get to that one there?
That was a great transition. Speaking of movies, I mentioned Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Maybe that's why.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. That's how I got there. So, are you going to go see it this weekend?
I'm gonna try to. Wait, let me just let at H202533. Where do we think Hanley Ramirez lands? We don't know. We're talking about just rewind the beginning of this live stream. You can hear the entire talk of Hanley Ramirez there. We don't know where he's going to land right now. There are a couple of teams who could use maybe some first base DH possibilities there, but
I
again,
think let's
nobody
have
wants
some
to put
fun
up
with
the
this.
crap.
I think let's have some fun with this.
Oh, you want to have some fun with it? Okay.
Let's do a little bit of a fantasy alarm, Hanley Ramirez team draft. Okay.
Okay.
You can have the first pick, or you can have the next two, and we each get to pick 4 teams. Okay.
Who we think could end up with Hanley Ramirez on their roster.
Correct. And we'll knock it out in 30 seconds right here. So do you want the first pick or do you want the next two? We get something to write with here.
I'll take the next 2. Yeah, let me write this down here.
Okay. Here we go. I'm going to take I'll you know what? I'll take a shot with the Rockies here with Hanley.
The Rockies.
That's my number 1 draft pick. Who do you got?
Okay, I'll take Toronto and Kansas City.
All right, you got Toronto and Kansas City. I'll go Cleveland.
I'll take the Orioles. Oh, you get 2. That's right. Damn it!
No, I don't get 2.
You don't get 2?
No, I got the first pick. And then we go 2, and then back to back to back until we finish.
Oh, okay. Then I will take Baltimore.
Orioles. I'll take Tampa Bay.
Alrighty, and then I will take. Ooh, this is gonna be a tough one here for me. Wait a sec. Let me see. Who do I want to go with?
Don't mess it up.
I know the pressure. The pressure. It's killing me right now.
You have Toronto, Kansas City, Baltimore. No NL teams. You haven't picked a single NL team.
I just don't feel like he really jibes well with an NL team. I really don't. But. I don't even know what that sound was. I don't even know why I made it.
I mean, you could have sung the Jeopardy tune. John and Pemba could have sung. Doo, 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 doo.
I know, right? Way to go, Pemba. Where were you there on that one?
Just sitting there.
The silent producer right now.
Hey, DFA to pick him back up.
Yeah, so you can renegotiate the contract with him there as soon as he clears waivers. I'll say Minnesota Twins.
Oh, that was my next one. You snaked me on the Twins.
Yeah!
I had him in the queue.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right, who's your team then?
Oh, I got to pick a new team.
Wrong. Sorry. Try again.
I'm going to go back to the NL here. And I am going to pick
Stephen Feely, while you're making that decision, says the Toledo Mud Hens, the Springfield Isotopes, perhaps the Durham Bulls.
Cubs.
Yeah, Theo Epstein gonna go and bring his boy back, huh?
Cubs. I got the Rockies, Indians, Tampa, and Cubs. You got Toronto, Kansas City, Baltimore, Minnesota.
Okay.
Bet on.
All right. What are we betting?
Name your price.
All right. Well, what did we bet for the Yelich 20 stolen base bet?
I don't think we had anything real solid there. I think we just kind of did a gentleman's bet on that one.
What was your bet with Jim on that one?
Under 20.5 steals.
Yeah. No, I know that. What was the stakes?
A dinner or something.
Oh, okay.
Dinner. Yeah, I owned up last time. I took him out.
All right. Did he demand the Opus One?
No, that's for show.
All right. Well, considering I said I'll double down on that bet, so I'll say that it was a dinner there. And I'll do dinner again on this one here.
All right, why don't we do the next time we see each other, the other one buys. That's it.
At FSTA, the next time we see each other, drinks all
Deal.
night. Done.
There it is. Credit card
Done.
bill.
Do
Done.
you know how much Red Bull I can consume in a night?
Good luck to you, man. Good luck to you.
Good luck to you, Craig Mish.
All right. I like that. That was fun.
There you go. All right. A good little exercise there. Let's see. Do we got any other questions here? I don't think we got any other questions here. So you know what? I tell you, Craig, unless you think of do you want to tell me about Solo? Do you want to tell me how much you enjoyed Solo?
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but I thought it was really entertaining. It was, reminded me of Rogue One, a lot of action, some good dialogue, and a lot of odes to the past too, which I don't want to spoil. So I thought it was definitely cool to see, and I think it'll have you asking questions after it's over, like timeline-wise of things. It was good. I liked it.
Like timeline-wise, it should have all taken place pre A New Hope, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do we deal with any wormhole time travel in this movie?
Not necessarily, but it'll make you think a little. This the whole movie can be seen without seeing any of the movies. But what Star Wars always tries to do is reward the fans that are really into it at different moments of the film. And I think that's what happened in this film.
Okay.
Fair?
You know what? Considering I haven't seen it, I have no idea if that's fair or not.
Well, next Tuesday when we have our next live stream, hope maybe you'll have seen it, and then we can discuss.
We can discuss and just spoil it for everybody.
You know what, Rob?
You're like, screw you, people! We're gonna spoil the whole movie for you right now.
I don't even know when you can start spoiling movies anymore. I mean, my producer in the morning, Rob Phoenix, he says that by next week, if you haven't seen it, you get to spoil it. I'm like, all right, if that's what you think. I think you need a little more time than that. But.
I was gonna say, there's like a timeline on that where if you haven't seen it within the first week, then I mean, maybe Silent Rob's got like some other freewheeling lifestyle here. Some of us are a little under the gun here with other responsibilities.
I mean, I think it's a good 2-3 weeks before you could even say anything, personally, for me. But I mean, I wouldn't want to know. I stayed away from social media yesterday, big time, because all the answers you're looking for, unfortunately, are sitting there on Twitter. You don't want to be spoiled. Don't even go on or search for it because they talk about it.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not one of those people who flips out about it. You're not ruining anything for me. I'm going to enjoy the movie one way or the other. If I know what's happening, well, then you know what? I know what's happening.
Well,
then I can look like a genius in front of my wife when I can turn to her and be like, "Oh my God, this is totally going to happen right now. Here, this is exactly what you're going to say."
Hey, honey, Yoda's getting naked right now. Right now, watch, you'll see.
Why do you got to go there? Another live stream that Hayes is not allowed to watch now.
No,
because you went to Naked Yoda.
He will laugh at that. He will laugh at Naked Yoda. He will not laugh at you dropping F-bombs.
I didn't drop any. I haven't said not a single bad. I didn't drop an F-bomb last time either.
An S-bomb, I think.
Oh, yes. Sorry. All right, but Naked Yoda's okay.
Naked Yoda's fine. Naked Yoda. Totally fine.
Yoda.
Anytime that you have a problem with a player in the future, you could say, this Tyler Chatwood's Naked Yoda.
I think I would rather look at Naked Yoda than watch Tyler Chatwood walk one more batter.
Oh, God. Before we go, Sunday is going to be the most exciting game of the season, one of them. I know that people don't gravitate to one individual baseball game, Howard, and this isn't even DFS or fantasy, but Trevor Bauer against Garrett Cole, and there's fighting words going back and forth, man. If a batter gets hit in that game, it's going to be on. I'm very much looking forward to that game Sunday, and a potential playoff preview too between Cleveland and Houston. So I'll leave you with that. That's the one game that I want to check out, and then tonight I'll go to the Marlins and Nationals. I'm working on a couple trades in my leagues too, trying to acquire Alex Reyes in one league, which I think has to be advised at this point. I mean, who has done what this kid has done in the minor leagues on rehab? But it should be fun.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds great. Maybe I'll go and check out Solo this week so we can talk about that. In the meantime, everybody have a very happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy your barbecues and, yeah, just be smart about it all. That's going to do it for today's live stream. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. This has been the Fantasy Alarm. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much.